Hey y'all, Data Guy here. And since y'all loved my video on Apache Flink so much, I decided to get right on making a follow-up video on how to build your first pipeline with Apache Flink. So first, I'm just going to quick do a little run back of showing you how to set up your local Flink environment. But just so if you watched the previous Flink video, you can skip ahead a minute. But just going to show you how to create a local Flink network. And before you do that, you'll need to download the official Flink Docker image. I'm going to be running this official image. There's also a way you can extract, the actual application binary, but it's a huge pain, so I'm not going to do that. And Docker is super easy to use, so we're going to go from this approach. So once you've downloaded this or run docker pull flink in your terminal, go back into our terminal. We can go here, and so you're going to need to run one command, flink properties. So because job manager, PC address, and then we're going to Docker network, create Flink network. And this would just be the network that Flink is going to use, but it's not actually going to run yet. So we've actually already created this, I forgot, because in our last video. So then what we're going to do is Docker run our job manager, start that bad boy up. So here, awesome. So now we've got our job manager up and running. So now let's also open a new terminal window, and we're going to also run a task manager. So with Flink, and so just to kind of explain, why we just did that. So the way Flink works is you will have, and this is kind of similar to Airflow, where you'll have your web client, which is where the UI that I'll show you in a second, Flink program. Then you have your job manager, which is going to manage sending out your actual Flink, transformation jobs, your Flink stream jobs execution to each individual task manager. So each individual task manager are resource slots, which are used for that actual task execution, just like in Airflow you have the worker nodes. In Flink, you have your task managers. And those all receive commands from the job manager, which is communicated through the job client. So just important to kind of illustrate that because each Flink program, will consist of multiple tasks. A task is, a basic unit of execution within Flink. So like, hey, maybe I want to, delete a field, or I want to operate, perform transformation. Each of those will be an individual instance that is executed by a task manager where you have this update task execution state after a task has been submitted to that manager. And so that's how Flink is able to do, really large scale data processing, is because you can have this, scaled across many, many different task managers to execute all those transformations in parallel. And so if you open up your web browser and you go to localhost 8081, after you have run those commands, you will see the following screen, which is your Apache Flink dashboard. You can see your available task slots. You're not running jobs yet, so that's what we're going to actually create. Where you can just see, status of your task manager, job manager, and what's going on under the hood. Again, just all running on Docker. And so I actually ran into some problems. So if you saw there, my task manager wasn't running. So it had some issues with running on my local Docker system. So I actually am now going to run it just using the tar binary. So to do that, what I just did was download just the Flink binary from the site. It'll come down as this Flink 1.18 source.tgz. And then I'm going to clear this just to show you this here again. You can see it'll, once you unpack it, you'll get this Flink 1.18, whatever version of Flink you choose to download. Don't worry about the Hadoop or Scala version if you're not using those systems locally. But just wanted to kind of show you full disclosure instead of just waving the wool over your eyes, right? Because this is the Data Guy channel. We don't do that. And so now what I'm going to do is just try and start this cluster again. So start local.sh, and this is how you, apologies, I forgot my slash. So here, starting the cluster, and you'll see starting my task executor host. And so this will just show you that everything is up and running. And then if I go back, or then if I check to see if it's running as a background process, you can see it's going to be running here, and you can just see kind of the information under in this super long, not easy to read string of text and numbers. And then, so I won't bore you too much, but if you just go back to this web host now, we will see a task manager available to use, so we can actually execute some tasks this time. So sorry, it's kind of it's I'm learning this alongside with you, so I thought it was important that you kind of see the struggles alongside me because you might run into them as well and not know what to do. And so if you want to stop this cluster too, all you'll run is just the stop cluster script. There's a bunch of different scripts in this bin folder that you can use for different purposes. So now we've got a Flink up and running. It's semi-working, right? Let's show how do we start actually running jobs. And so here, because every Flink job is actually defined as a Java archive file. And luckily, Flink actually provides examples of different types of jar files. So you can kind of go through these, see an example of what one of these looks like. And if I open it anyways in this encoding, just with text editor, you can see this is going to look super duper funky. And don't worry, I'm going to show you how to build and manage these later. But the first thing I wanted to do was so we're going to go to this word count jar and just to show you, hey, how do I submit a job? So what this word count jar file is going to do, our Flint job, is basically just going to take a list of words, and tell me and do some streaming on them to just tell me how many letters are in each word. And so the way I'll run this is by going bin or Flink. So you can see I'm going to reference this Flink cluster that I'm already running, and then run path to a relative path to your jar file that you want to run within Flink. So here, file, I'm going to run expect specify, so you can see its job has been submitted. And then if we go into our UI, we can actually see our job that is just run. So here's our completed job with our word count. And you can see our source input, which is just a tokenizer. And then again, this is just reading in some random words and telling me how many are in there. And then we can look at the output of this. So the monitoring within could use a little work, but it is still workable. You just got to figure out where everything is. So if you want to monitor a job that you just ran, you're going to go into your completed or running jobs, then you can access this logs in the job manager. And if we go down here, we should see our words somewhere down here. Task managers. Actually, let's go here and into our logs. And we should see somewhere within here all of our different words printed out. Where is it? 1 second. So here's our in-memory tokenizer running. So they are running. So I was in the wrong file. So make sure you are in this file that says .out at the end. This will be where you can see the output of whatever Flink job you have just run. So I'm not sure. There should be somewhere in the UI. I'm not sure why it's not, but here you can see just all the random words, how many letters are in each word. Clearly not very good. Or word count. Yeah, I'm not really sure what's going on here. These seem completely wrong. But this is just, hey, how do I submit a basic job? So now what I want to show you is really what one of these .jar files actually looks like under the hood. So if we go here, I actually have a very simple playground walkthrough. So say just open a new file, and this isn't going to be support version, so don't expect everything to look pretty. But example batch transaction.jar. And then here, what you can see is just kind of an example Flink file of what Java code actually looks like under the hood. So this is from the Flink Playground walkthrough, where you can see I'm just importing streaming mode, table environments. These are just general settings that allow you to create tables and execute SQL within Flink. So here, and what this would also bring in is the settings for executing these SQL statements in whatever database you're using. So, the environment settings and the table environment would be something like a Snowflake connection or Postgres, whatever. You can see here within this jar file, I have execution statement of creating a table of transactions with the connector to Kafka. So I'm going to use Kafka to actually take my data out or I'm using Kafka as the source. And then after execute that SQL, I'm going to create a spend report in my MySQL database using this JDBC driver. So you can see here how I'm defining that. So if you've used Java, this might look very familiar to you. If you haven't, don't be afraid. It's not as all confusing as it looks. Java just has some really annoying syntax. So, you got to have stuff like these dash n's. but it's not actually that bad once you get it down into it. And plus, with things like ChatGPT, it's even easier now too. So hopefully this has given you enough information to kind of figure out, hey, how do I get started creating my own jar files? How do I run them? How do I create a local Flink testing environment? And really encourage you to go test it out yourself. I don't really know where to go from here with Flink, so I'm going to make a comparison video on Flink versus Airbyte, but and integration with Airflow. But please let me know if there's something you'd like to see specifically around Flink, other than just a comparison, like a specific use case, and I would be happy to oblige. So have a good one, Data Disciples, and Data Guy out. Peace.